Hey, friends. Hey, so happy to see you guys. How's everybody doing on this fine Sunday? I'm here. I made it. Please excuse the fancy little funny looking gloves on my mitts. My hands are sore. I've been painting a lot, getting my store ready. So I got these compression glove things and they're great. So don't worry about that. I mean, I hope it's not too distracting. Okay, let me say hello to everybody. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Sam was first one here. Jen's here. Margie's here. Lisa's here. My bestie Shirley's here. Beachcomber, Mama Bear, Lisa Mack. Oh, Catchfish Annie. Cool. You got my message? Right on. Peggy's here. Oh my gosh. This is a great turnout. I wasn't expecting that. Wow. Okay. So, you guys, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I've never taught a tarot class. I really don't know what I'm doing. I spent the majority of the morning kind of taking some notes, basic knowledge that I know about tarot. And I want to just kind of start the first class by giving like a history of tarot, where it started. At the very beginning, because there's actually some misconceptions about the beginning of tarot that people don't really know about that much. It takes a little bit of deep dive to find that out. Of course, I'm obsessed with it, so I've known for a while, but people think it started at a time it actually didn't. Anyways, I'd like to just real quickly just start with, let's talk about the history of tarot, and then we'll talk about the structure of the deck. Hi, Beverly. Nice to see you. Okay, so how did tarot become a tool for divination, right? It didn't start out that way. Okay, so just so you know, it did not start out that way. Tarot actually had a different name in the beginning. It's changed names multiple times. And there is a mother deck, or a mother system, because tarot is a system. There's a mother system, or an original system before tarot, that nobody ever talks about. And it's really crazy. It links all the way back to, I don't know if you guys are aware of who the Mamluks are. The Mamluks. If you don't know who the Mamluks are, that is a very interesting part of our history. So go check out the Mamluks. They were an enslaved warrior race in like Islam. Okay. So way back like in the 14th, 15th centuries. And they were enslaved and they were made to be warriors. And they actually created a M-O-M, let me think. I think it's like M-O-M-L-U-K-S, Momlux. I'm sure if you type in that, what I just said, it'll correct it for you if it's wrong, because there's not a lot of words like that. Yes. Hi, Jessie. Nice to see you. Yeah, Momlux. So the Momlux were an enslaved warrior race way back in like the 14th, 15th century, 1400s. They say 1500s, but you know how like the 20th, they referred to the 20th century in the 1990s. Okay, so it's kind of like that. So it's kind of like a retro. So actually 1400s. And it can actually be taken all the way back to the 1300s with the Mamluks. And what Mamluks means, you guys, it means owned in Arabic. The word Mamluks means owned in Arabic. This was a slave race that were made to be vicious warriors. They came from Turkish, mostly Turkish and Caucasian descendancy, and they served as slaves between the 9th through the 9th to the 19th century. It's a long time in the Islamic world. So the Mamluks, even though you guys got to go check out their history, it's super fascinating. Even though they were an enslaved race, they still were able to hold high positions in their own societies. Okay. So like they were kind of considered almost like geishas, the Mamluks that worked within the cards and stuff. So they're kind of like geishas. Let me see here. Yeah, they were compared to geishas who were there to entertain wealthy people. And but even though they were the entertainment, they still could hold high positions in society. They were, like I said, they were enslaved, but still held high positions. They were slave warriors, and this was the medieval Islam. Yeah, you guys, their history is bonkers. You got to go check it out. It's amazing. So they were actually like the players in some pretty major historical events. One of their accomplishments was they overthrew the Masters and defeated the Mongols during the Crusades and established a dynasty that lasted for 300 years. So it looks like they did break out of enslavement. At some point, they took their power back. So we're talking about the Mamluks because they created kind of like a primordial ancestor to the tarot deck with a deck called the Mamluks playing cards. It wasn't quite tarot yet, and there was no divination attached to it yet at this point. It was the very birthing of the creation. It's considered to be the Mamluks card playing system is considered to be the mother to tarot. It has extreme similarities, but also a lot different in many ways. So just imagine tarot with no divination attached to it. That's kind of what it is. Structured similarly, not as many cards, but similarly. Yeah, so the structure of the Mamluks deck, it would be kind of pointless for me to point that out, the differences right now, because you don't really know the structure of the tarot deck yet. Maybe later we'll go back and talk about the comparisons because it's very different. I don't want to overload too much information as far as that goes right at first. But one thing is that the Mamluks deck being attached to Islam, and they weren't really allowed to depict human figures in their artwork at that time. It was considered only God could make that kind of a creation or bring that. So they weren't really allowed to do any kind of human figures in any of their cards. So at that point, they were just numbers and symbols on the cards. So how did the cards get to Europe? Because they went from there to Europe where they basically exploded. Okay, they came through Venice, Italy. There was for a while though, when they came, there was a law against them. They were actually legal. It was illegal to do tarot. Why? Because tarot was grouped in with card game systems, and cards as a whole, just all cards, were banned in Italy for a long time because they were using them as gambling to gamble with. So they figured, well, we'll just stop this and we'll just ban all cards. People are going to gamble with all kinds of things. Yes, Sam, from gambling. So they banned them. People were doing it in the secret. We're reading the cards in secret. So there, and still no divination attached to the tarot at this point. Around the mid 1400s in Italy, the artists actually started painting the cards that were with new illustrations, with putting the people on them and the meanings of the cards and symbolism. They started actually fancy illustrating the cards. This was the mid 1400s. And by the 1500s, the Italian I can't say this word. You guys, aristocracy, the aristocrats. Okay, that's the wealthy people. They were enjoying a game known as Turkey. So it's aristocrat. Thank you. Spelled like that, I can say it. Yes. So tarot started off as Taroki. That was the original name for tarot, was Taroki. Okay, so that was what the rich people, the aristocrats, were doing. Now, only the rich people and the aristocrats at this point owned tarot decks. Tarot decks were commissioned, so people would have to hire these artisans to actually create their decks for them, and they were very, very expensive. And they also believed back then, because nobody could really go out and purchase a tarot deck, that this is where the belief system that a tarot deck has to be gifted to you, which is not true. That's a superstition. But this is where that belief I feel this is where that belief stemmed off from, is that in the beginning, people received tarot decks as gifts, and it was only the rich people received the tarot decks. So it says wealthy families in Italy commissioned these expensive decks, and the oldest tarot decks were actually given as gifts to noblemen and dukes and duchesses, which falls in line with the popular myth that the deck has to be a gift, which is a superstition. Individually handmade, which is exactly opposite. So it's actually exactly opposite of what people feel nowadays, because nowadays people will tell you need to go out and feel and vibe your deck out, right? Like you need to go out and get a feel for it before you purchase it. How can you do that if someone's gifting it to you? I mean, believe me, I'm the first person to say I absolutely love getting tarot decks as gifts. Okay. I'll never turn one away. But it is not true that you have to be gifted a deck in order to have a bond with it or a connection with it. I personally prefer going out and feeling them out myself. So I think it's opposite of that myth is what I'm trying to point out there. So in the beginning, these expensive decks were being handcrafted by artisans, gifted to within the rich communities. When they started to gain in popularity and the poor people wanted it, right? For lack of a better term, the poors wanted to get in on the game. Hi, such a lady. Nice to see you. Welcome. Then they started making them a lot differently. It was almost like a mass produce. And so they started making like these wooden stencils, and they would just stamp the cards, and they were made on these big loose pieces of paper. And so that's kind of how they were for the poor type people. So at this point, they started to kind of switch the name up a little bit, and they started to call it Carte de Triomphe. This is also in English, this means the cards of triumph. So the name went from Tarot to Carte de Triomphe, which is cards of triumph in English, where it was marked with suits, cups, swords, and polo sticks. So normally, modern tarot is suits. The suits are wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. They had them different at that point. Still no divination attached. Polo was very popular back then. That's like football is for us now. So these cards were then referred to. So when they added the trump cards, which is the major arcana, which is the first 22 cards in the deck, when they added the trump cards is when they called it tarot. So basically, that we know of, there's like 3 major like luxury decks out there that have survived from the 1500s. The 2 of them, which are the ones you're going to hear about, the first 2 or the oldest 2 were actually commissioned and made for Mr. Filippo Maria Visconti. He was the last Duke of Milan. He had the first deck, which was, where did I put that one? Okay, the first deck is called the Marizano de Tortona, which was created for the same owner of the Visconti. So he had the Visconti. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about the original tarot deck is the Visconti deck made in Italy. That's actually not the first deck. That's actually the second deck that was commissioned by the same artist. And so he did 2 for this last Duke of Milan. All right, so let's see. These cards were lost in history for a long time. And the reason why we know they exist is because there was a letter written to Queen Isabella Lorraine by Jacob Antonio, hoping that he could win her favor. He described these decks that he was going to acquire for her and the history where they had come from. And he was trying to buy her off with these decks, and it shows up, and he describes them, in these letters he was writing to her, and so they've got that documentation, but they've actually been the first original decks have been lost in history. There's another name for reading cards, you guys. It's cartomancy, because there's quite a few different divination systems out there. We've got regular tarot, we've got oracle. You can look behind me and see there's not just tarot behind me. I have many different systems of reading cards, which I've learned or, added on to me over time. But yeah, there's many different, and so basically it's just reading cards for divination is what cartomancy means. And the historical procedure for tarot, taking a turn towards the occult, divination was added in the 1700s. Okay. The Tarot of Marcial is a deck considered to be the gold standard. This is that third special luxury deck, okay? Is considered to be a gold standard tarot, most likely created in Milan, spreading like fire, Switzerland, spreading like fire through to France, Switzerland, and northern Italy. De Marseille was the first deck that was transitioned into divinity or had divinity attached to it. In the 18th century, Jean-Baptiste Alliot wrote a book linking tarot to divination too in 1789, called the Book of Thoth. Jebelline Elliott published the very first deck that was specifically made for divination, working with this man. Okay, and so let me see this real quickly. Oh, this is very interesting. This took some digging to get this information. I wanted to know how tarot was linked to Egypt, ancient Egypt, because a lot of times, hi Dean, hi Lisa. A lot of times they will say tarot's origin is in Egypt. So that didn't happen until the 18th century, actually. And what happened is Jebelline Elliott wrote and published in this time a whole bunch of essays similar to like the Encyclopedia Britannica. So these essays were like the Encyclopedia Britannica. One of the essays was about tarot, holding secrets of like the Egyptians and the wisdom of them and stuff, right? There's actual no documented historical basis for these claims that Jebelline Elliott created in these essays, but they've been embraced. And so that's been that's where the link to Egypt goes. That's where it comes from. But in this essay, she talked about the tarot being linked to the ancient Egyptians. And hi, Jessie May. And she talked about how tarot promises to reveal like okay, hold on, I lost my place here. The book promised to reveal the theory and practice of ancient Egyptian magic through tarot. That was what the essay said. Sorry about that. Okay, so astrology was then added to it, and it became well known then for spiritual and mundane divination. So now we have divination attached to our tarot. So it didn't always start out, hi Brave Angel, didn't always start out with divination attached. But I'm going to tell you that I'm going to try to teach you guys how to read tarot intuitively, not so much by the book, because I didn't learn by the book. I never had all of this information available to me when I was learning tarot. I had to really lean on my intuition when I was learning tarot. So, and my memory, of course, because the thing is repetition sticks it in your head, kind of whether you like it or not. Repetition. Another good suggestion I will make for you is to do like flashcards. That helps as well. So if you're trying to learn, say, like just the element attached to that card, because every single card in the deck has an element, earth, wind, water, or fire attached to it. Some decks have ether attached to them as well. So depending on the author of the deck. So like if you just want, so do you understand what I'm saying by that? Like concentrate on making flashcards about just the elements until you learn them, and then make flashcards on just like the yes no like attachment of the card, because each card has a yes no feel to it. So flashcards on that and learn the things one at a time. Otherwise it's too overwhelming, you guys, way too overwhelming. So just try to like solidify one thing at a time when you're learning, because there's actually a lot that's attached with tarot. And tarot cards and their meanings have actually changed enormously over time. Why? Because we've changed what we know about life and existence and history, and our belief systems, and all of this changes throughout our history, right? So the meanings take on different meanings. The cards take on different meanings, or they have a lot added to them, and they become richer and bigger in meaning and have more meaning attached to them over time. So that tarot has changed a lot, but it's kept to a basic structure. Tarot has a really long history. It spans over hundreds of centuries. Okay, so the OG modern deck. I'm sure you guys, if you're interested in tarot for any amount of time, you guys have heard of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The Rider-Waite-Smith. This is the basic deck that most modern tarot decks are fashioned after. So like a creator, like, okay, so just so you know, I'm in the process of making my own deck right now. I've been working on it for a while. I have a lot going on, so that's kind of on the back burner, but I've been working on my own deck for a while. Every creator is going to bring their own energy right? So it'll give it a little bit of a spin on each meaning a little bit. Some creators will kind of push their decks or the overall energy of a specific deck towards, say, astrology more, or say, whatever. Just every deck is also fashioned after the creator's energy. So there is that versatility. So we just need to keep in our minds that we're just going to, in the beginning here, as we're beginning to learn, we're just going to keep to the basic concepts. But what I want to say is this. Number one, and I'm going to read a little bit about it out of this book here. A lot of people, most people, are programmed to believe that, is this the deck you have? Is that what you're saying, such a lady? This is the one you have? Or the Rider-Waite? Probably the Rider-Waite. Yeah, that's very common. I have this learning deck here I brought in. I have one of these I bought for the giveaway, and I got another one to do this class with you guys in, okay? This is fashioned after the Rider-Waite. Yeah, and we'll look at that in a little bit. Okay, so his name was Arthur Edward Waite, and his sister died in 1874. In this moment, he got really interested in all things paranormal and trying to figure out a way to talk to his sister. I don't know if he was in touch with his intuition. I don't know if he had some third eye stuff going on. I don't know if his senses were intact. I'm not sure. But I honestly believe that anybody that is interested in talking to somebody who's transitioned or interested in the occult type stuff is definitely energetically being pulled in that direction for a reason. Either you're about to wake up to your senses, or you need to, and you're being put in that direction for a reason. I do believe that. Okay, so he met up with this chick named Pamela Coleman Smith. She was an artist and an illustrator. She did the Bram Stokers. Yeah. So they met up and they created the Rider-Waite Smith deck. And that's the deck we all kind of know now. So yeah. All right, so I'm going to read a few things because there's this. All right, let me just read a few things real quickly. That I'm not going to read this whole book, but there's some important stuff in here. Okay, I'm going to start off with this. Okay, tarot cards have been around since the 14th century and appear to have originated in Europe, Italy. The oldest surviving set is called the Tarocchi in Italian and appears, and see, they don't know about what I just told you guys about with those first two decks. Some people believe that the cards originated in ancient Egypt, and the common myth is that the tarot was brought to Europe by gypsies. Not true. Tarot cards have frequently been used as a tool for fortune telling or divination and have also been used in one form or another for understanding the self and the world. So it's no wonder that in this time of chaos, in the Grand Awakening, in all the world, tarot seems to be growing in popularity. Yes. In the past and even now, people who interpreted the cards were given great power and held in reverence as great fortune tellers. I really don't like that. And this seems to be the case today, with people believing the interpretation as the truth, as exactly what is going to happen, and that nothing can be done to change it. However, this is not true. Nothing in our life is fixed. Everything changes. That's the name of the game down here, is change. So reading the tarot cards does not mean, so those people out there who sit down and read tarot cards and they get this air about them where they know more than you, and they've got some kind of like an air of superiority or authority over you because they can read cards. That's ridiculous, because anyone can. Anyone can. You can read your own tarot cards, and you can do accurate readings that are just as accurate for you as they would be if I did them. Anyone can. Okay, and don't let anyone convince you of any different. Misconceptions of tarot. This is what I wanted to read, and then I'll move on and we'll check out the structure of the deck. Okay. Misconceptions of tarot. Unfortunately, there are some people who seem to have a negative view of the tarot cards. They think that they are the work of the devil or some sort of black magic. People assume that if you can read the tarot, then it means you can delve deep into their minds and know all their deepest and darkest secrets. Not true. Not true. That is definitely not true. There are, however, other misconceptions about the tarot by people who've never used it. And it's usually by people who never use it, people who have been told by someone else that it's bad or negative or linked to, the devil or whatever. I think if anyone actually ever really takes 5 minutes out to actually study the history of tarot and just try it, they may change their mind. Okay, number one misconception: tarot can tell you everything. The tarot does not tell you 100% categorically what's going to happen in your life. Only you have complete control over what happens in your life. The tarot cannot tell you what decisions to make. It can help you look at things you may not have considered. It brings out the truth. It brings things to light. It brings the things that your human brain isn't grabbing onto or hasn't went to yet. By the end of the day, you are the one who can make the choice and feel the consequences arising from you. You cannot blame the tarot if the outcome is not what you expected based on a decision you made. Most importantly, and this scares loads of people, the tarot is very unlikely to predict death. Okay, because death is something that is written into our pre-birth contract before we come here. Most of us have about 5 exit points that we set up for ourselves throughout. So tarot cannot predict death, really. It can predict the circumstances around it. It can predict the energies heading that way, but I don't really think it can predict death per se, because maybe I'll disagree with that a little bit. I will disagree with that a little bit because I've been pretty accurate several times where my cards have told me, but it was my interpretation too, you know. The death card isn't necessarily about death. It's about endings and new beginnings. It's not about endings. It's about endings and new beginnings. Does that make sense? So I don't know. I guess maybe that's up for interpretation. Okay. Anyways, here's the thing. Do not sit down with your cards in your hand and say, am I going to die? And pull the cards out. Okay. You're not going to get an accurate answer. I'll just tell you that much. Okay. Misconception number 2, tarot is something to fear. There's nothing to fear with tarot. It is made up of picture cards, you guys, which are open to your interpretation. Someone else may look at the exact same image and interpret it in a totally different way. And that's true. We all see things the way our own brain and mind interprets it. So when I'm doing a tarot reading and I'm giving my interpretation of what's coming out in the cards, that's why I always do my disclaimer before my videos that this is subject to my own interpretation. I can misinterpret. I can interpret something partway accurate, or I'm not getting the whole picture all the time. I have a human brain, it's limited. So, all right. Point being, what you read from the cards is from your interpretation, and that's where the intuition comes in, you guys. That's where intuition, we lean into the intuition right there, big time. Let's see. Tarot is not associated with any religion, cult, devil, or voodoo, or any other sinister thing. It really isn't. Tarot is associated with self-exploration. That's it. Self-exploration. And if you're really good at using the cards, you can get other universal information about other things. But that's what you guys should be coming here to learn tarot for. That should be the beginning intention for all of you. If you're here because you intend to read tarot to hurt other people, or you intend to read tarot to make yourself popular or something like that, it's not going to be an easy road for you trying to learn. If you're here to learn tarot for the reasons of self-exploration, I feel it's going to flow right to you. I really do. Because anything that's for your highest good flows. I promise you, I just experienced that this last week. Anything that's for your highest good will just flow. And you guys will pick it up really easy. All right. So the last thing, and this is important, you guys. This is kind of the main reason why I wanted to come here. Tarot requires psychic skills. Okay? Not true. Not true. You do not have to have any special skills, nor do you need to be a clairvoyant, a medium, or a psychic to be able to work with the cards. Anyone can read the cards. All you're doing is telling a story based on what the images show. What happens is the energies around your intentions create that story. So when I go and I do a reading, I said, this is what I want to know about. Can I know about this? Can I know about that? Can I have this information? Am I allowed to have that information? Intention, everything. I know you guys hear me say that all the time. Intention, everything. So if you walk into this with the intention of, I want to learn tarot so that I can better myself, so that I can gain knowledge, I'm not saying that, you need your sole intention for learning tarot is because you're trying to better yourself. But I'm telling you that if that's where you place the major intention, I'm here to learn about myself, how I can better myself, how I can better my place in this world, how I can discover my true purpose, how I can navigate around certain situations, those things. If that's your intention when you walk into a reading, that's where the energies flow to, right? Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So if you want to learn tarot because you want to help other people, because you want to be able to pull the truth out in a world where it's hard to know the truth about anything, okay, that's for your highest good. That is the intention. That's in a roundabout way. That's still for your highest good. So I'm reading here. I read Sam saying, I just want to learn it. That's your soul telling you need to learn it, because your body needs that source to go to for universal knowledge. And that's your soul telling you, that's the desire. That's where the desire is coming from, is an inner need. That's your soul. That's your higher self. Definitely. Okay, guys, that's all I'm going to read. I just wanted to, one thing that's really important to me is that people do not ever walk in to a situation where you're trying to learn how to read tarot with any kind of, just don't bring fear into it. Do not bring fear. Tarot is not a Ouija board. When you're using the cards, the devil doesn't come through them. Make sure, though, now that I'm saying that, because it just popped in my head, make sure, though, you guys, when you are going in for a reading, that personally, I meditate for at least 10 minutes before each reading. This is just to empty out my mind, and so that I have space to receive during my reading, right? So I just go into a meditation, empty out my mind. Now I'm empty, so when I go into the reading, here it comes, right? So that's one thing you guys might want to try. I also always, I speak my intentions before the meditation, and I speak my intentions before I go into the reading, and I continue to throughout the reading. It just keeps that energy flowing so that the information that's coming through the energies is sticking to the subject, right? Because I will say that when you open yourself up energetically to receive, other things can sneak in. Other spirits can come in. They can manipulate the energies. They can throw a card in the mix. It doesn't mean anything. Generally, they're trying to get your attention. For me, anyways, that's my experience. Generally, they're using an opportunity to try to get your attention or get a message out or something like that. But if you place protections, if you pray and you connect with the source God energy and you ask for angelic protection to be placed around that while you're open energetically, you're divinely protected all the time. So yeah, these spirits may be able to toss a card in the mix, but they're not evil because they can't touch you there. Okay? So I just wanted to clear that up so that you guys don't have fear walking into this, because that will kind of defeat your purpose. Okay, next. You should really have a specific space where you read your cards. It should, 333, it's 1233 here. Love it. Thank you for pointing that out, such a lady. 333, that's your circle of support. That's your guides. That's your angels. That's your ancestors. Yes. Thank you so much for peeking in right now with us, ancestors, angels, guides. I appreciate you being here with us. Our guides are always with us. Anyways, okay, so what I was saying, you guys, you should really have, some people have a problem with the word altar. I used to call this space where I read my cards like an altar, but really it's just a desk. Okay, it's a desk where I have specific crystals and things placed around me that energetically help me do my work. But I do come back to the same space to receive. I feel that's important. There are a lot of people who can read on the fly really, really well. I read on the fly. But that's taken years and years and years, you guys, of experience to be able to read on the fly. When you're a beginner, you need to pretty much go to the same place in your home, the same spot. Prepare a spot, take away all the distractions. Make sure that spot is airy and open. You've got plenty of lighting. You don't want to learn tarot in the dark. You need to see all the defined lines and details, because every single thing matters in the cards. So you want to have a nice lit area. Make sure there's not a lot of distractions. Make sure you've set aside a chunk of time when you're not going to get distracted or have interruptions or whatever. And you want to cleanse your space. And, so what I do is I use an incense or a sage or a Palo Santo, and speak to your guides, clear your space, and make sure that it is clear of any kind of. Another thing I do is I purchased this little set of yoga bells. This is what they look like. They make a specific frequency. Yoga bells do and that also clears the energies out around. So I'm starting off in my reading, or entering my reading with just my energy. I'm surrounded, you guys, all the time, so I have to push them away. They'll come back, but I got to push them away while I'm initiating a reading. I'll do that as well. Singing bowls, they work really well too to clear the energies. So definitely clear the energies. Say your protective prayers. Call in your guides and your protectors, your angels, your ancestors, and so that your space is conductive for you to receive. That's also very important. I'm just trying to set you guys up for the best possible experience, okay? And I'm just sharing what works for me, and I hope that that's good enough. I mean, what can I say? I'm not a teacher. I've never done this, but I can share what works for me. I mean, that's what I'm here to do. Lisa says, I like to use a singing bowl to cleanse my space. Yes, me too. And I've got several. You can find them at different frequencies. 432 is actually the best frequency for clearing space, which is the heart chakra, high heart chakra. So very good frequency for clearing space. But make sure that you get your space cleared. You do your protection and set out your intentions. Why are you doing this reading? What are you here to find out? If you're just coming to the cards. Okay. Let me rewind. Okay. So I think everyone here should start off with only doing 1 card readings for a while. Okay. It should start off with only a 1 card reading. So right now, you guys keep coming back here every Sunday, and we'll do these classes, and it'll work up. I'll work up with you guys, and we'll start off with 1 card readings. Learn how to do that until we feel confident, and we'll go up to a different, and we'll start doing spreads after that. Okay, so, all right, so let's see. What was the next thing? I was going to say one more thing. Cleansing, okay, preparing your space, cleansing your space, protecting your space, intentions. Oh, and then you choose your deck. Okay, so if you're somebody like me who has like 300 plus decks, you didn't hear that? If you're somebody like me that is an avid collector and you have a lot of decks, I ask my guides to lead me to what I ask my guides, like, take me to the decks that are going to serve the highest purpose or help the most or serve the highest good. I ask my guides to lead me. They'll start showing me. I'll start getting pictures in my mind of the cards. Yes, I have over 300 decks, and I know which decks those pictures belong to. And that's pretty crazy, right? But that's another thing that happens to me when I'm doing readings and I'm not even looking at my cards. My guides will start showing me pictures of the cards in my head because I know what they mean so well. I associate them with things so well that's what I resonate with, right? So that's what they show me. I mean, among other things too. But intention, I just can't say this enough, and I feel like my guides are having me repeat this. Walking into a reading with intention set is going to absolutely make all the difference in the world, whether or not you receive valid information, useful information, because they can't answer questions that are not asked, and they can't provide energy that has not been requested. So, okay. All right. So let's talk about the structure. Okay. Where are we at? We were at 12:39. I was thinking we would go for an hour. So let's spend about 20 minutes talking about how the deck is made, is what it's made up of. Okay, let me grab my notes here. I really don't need the notes to talk about the structure, but just in case I wrote something clever, I want to share with you guys. Okay. I'm just teasing. All right. So the structure of the deck, the tarot card deck, or the tarot deck is made up of, you have 5 decks now. I love it. You guys know Natalie, right? Awaken Intuitive Tarot. She's catching up. When I first met her, she had like 3. And when she decided I talked her into starting a channel because she's so good. And it was hard at first. She didn't want to. She was really shy. And I talked her into starting her channel. It took me a minute, but I did it. I'm like, we'll do this together. We'll do this together. We'll navigate this together. I'm so glad she did, but she just kind of sticks to like astrology type stuff like that mostly. She has done some cases way back when she first started. She just didn't find her passion there. She's more working with astrology and galactic stuff, and which I love all of that so much. But she started off with like 3 decks, and she's like, okay, if I'm going to start this channel, you give me some suggestions as to some good decks I could use. She was actually helping with the missing people cases at first when she first started her channel. So I led her to a few that were good for that. And I don't know, I created a monster, you guys, because she's probably close to caught up with me at this point. But I love it. It's terrible. I guess that's my addiction. That's my drug of choice. If I'm going to waste money at all, which I don't do very often, that's what it'll be on for sure. All things tarot cards, all cards, not just tarot. Her channel is called Awakened Intuitives Tarot. Her name is Natalie, and she's my little sister. We are not blood, but Natalie and I have the same blood type, but we're not like blood, but we have shared past lives multiple times. We both know that we've co-contracted in this life multiple times. We have journals that she wrote well before I knew her, journals I wrote way before I knew her, where we described dreams that were exactly the same. We shared multiple lives, Natalie and I. We found each other again here on YouTube, of all places. And yes, and she's great. So go over there and sub up to her channel if you haven't already, and watch some of her readings, because she's really good. She's really good, and her confidence has gotten so good. And yeah. Brave Angel, I follow Natalie's channel. It's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for following her. I appreciate that very much. Awakened Intuitives. So there is that S at the end of intuitive. So it's because here's what she says. She says Awakened Intuitives because she wants her platform to be like I do, like a space where we come together. Intuitives means plural, means all of us, right? She doesn't want to just be the intuitive. She wants it to be intuitives. So all the intuitives will come there. Yeah. Awakened Intuitives. Yeah, go check her out. But yeah, she's catching up with me. She sends me decks all the time too. And I send her decks all the time too, whenever I find a good one, or she finds a good one. Yeah. Yeah, it can be. I gotta rein myself in sometime. At Christmas time, Hay House was having a sale, a like really good sale, where like $30 and $40 and $50 decks were like $9. So I bought like a whole bunch of them at Christmas time. And I'm like, I think I just bought all of my decks for the year. I bought like 12. I still haven't looked at all of them yet. So very supportive. Natalie, are you talking about Natalie? Natalie's very supportive. Love her. Just love her to pieces. So let's talk about the structure. So we've got 78 cards in the deck. It is actually split into 2 sections. Well, there's some modern decks that have just come out recently. I've got one right there that actually added a 3rd arcana, but we're talking about the basic structure of Rider-Waite. So we've got the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana are the first 21 cards in the deck they're the first 22, but it starts with 0. So 0 through 21 is the major arcana. These are basically archetypes. So these are archetypes that kind of that just guide you to like realizations. Okay, so archetypes that guide you to realizations. I'm just going to say it that way. The minor arcana is made up of 4 suits, and each one of those suits has 4 court cards. So the suits are cups, pentacles, wands, and swords. They do kind of vary. Sometimes they'll say coins instead of pentacles. Sometimes they'll say chalice instead of cups. Sometimes they'll say rods instead of wands. Swords generally stays the same, but sometimes it does switch up. But generally, you know what it means. You know what it means. Okay, so the suits, each suit is made up of 10 pick cards, they're called pick cards because all they are is a card that represents a number between 1 and 10. And then there are 4 court cards. Those are the page, the knight, the king, and the queen. And those cards, the minor arcana, is basically what helps you to kind of like depict what's going on in your daily life and give you like the daily guidance, and in the different ways, how to interact, different interactions, different experiences, different thoughts, different emotions. So that's what the minor arcana is about. So major arcana, archetypes. Minor arcana, interactions, experiences, thoughts, emotions, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I hope that makes sense for the structure. The deck, oh, okay, these are extra. Okay, all right. You guys have your decks. Do you guys have any questions before I go any further? Actually, you know what? I should ask you that. You guys have any questions before I go any further? Thank you, such a lady. She will appreciate that. Just making sure nobody has any questions before I start talking about the Fool. No questions. No questions? No questions? All right. How am I doing? Am I doing okay, you guys? Appreciate your feedback, please. Because I don't know how I'm doing. I really hope I'm helping. And I'm not just like confusing the heck out of everybody. I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you. Brave Angel, do you want to donate for the classes? If you want to, I do have a PayPal. Is it PayPal? Yeah, I do have a PayPal. Yeah. It is in my description. I think there's a link to it in the description of my channel. You don't have to, but if you want to, that'd be awesome. I'd appreciate it. Absolutely. Okay, so tarot starts off with the Fool card, you guys. The Fool card being the beginning of the journey. This is a journey. This started off as a game of a journey, starting off with the Fool's journey. So the Fool card coming out is the beginning of your tarot experience, okay? The Fool is what just learning tarot is literally you being the Fool, setting off on an adventure with just the intentions of learning, receiving, experiencing, and growing and expanding, right? That's what the Fool is. Instead of saying, ooh, no, there's evil. That person said that it's evil. Oh, that person, instead of allowing fear to stop you or place a blockage in front of you, you've chosen to take on that Fool aspect of tarot and go for it, and just take it, go for it, embrace it, right? And learn. I do believe that there's a soul calling for those of us who do. So I do believe that is there, but you have to be holding the vibration of the Fool's energy to start off on any new adventure or any new, So with, I'm sitting here trying to decide, okay, first of all, you know what, before we talk about the Fool, I'm still on the structure of the deck. I want to tell you, there are 4 elements that are attached to the suits of the deck, okay? So each suit, let me just tell you. So cups is water. So water is the emotional aspect of whatever you're pulling out. So if you pull a card that is one of the cups, you know that it is linked to water. It's going to be something to dealing with emotions, okay? Pentacles is, or coins, pentacles is earth. So this is tangible things. This is earthly matters and tangible things, okay? Money, okay? Assets, things you acquire. So when they're talking about pentacles or coins, a card for pentacles or coins comes out, it's generally having to do with something like that. Life's pursuits, career, earthly tangible things, okay? Swords are air. Air is connected to your intelligence, the mind. So anytime suits of swords is pulled out, this is your intellect. So like the King of Swords, he is very strategical. He plans it out to a T and he gets it right every time because he's so smart. And the Queen is so smart. So a swords card is all things of the mind, strategy, building and planning, education, those kind of things for swords. For the wands, this is connected to the fire element. This is creativity. This is your creativity. So like, for example, the Ace of Wands, this is going to be Ace being the beginning point, the number one, ace through 10, ace being the starting point, number one. Wands would be a new creation, okay? Because creativity for wands. So water, cups, earth, coins, air, swords, and fire, wands. That's the elements that are attached to the tarot. Okay. All right, let's see. Now, I don't think I'm going to go into the astrology yet, you guys, that's attached to the tarot right now, because that's too much. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it at this, and we'll start our fool's journey, like really start the fool's journey during the next class. Okay, I just really wanted to talk about the history of tarot and the structure of the deck to begin with. But I am going to leave you with some homework. So you guys go look up the Mamluks and check out the history, because that's the true origin of tarot. It didn't start out as tarot with the Mamluks, but that's where it began. So if you get a few minutes, go do that. Also, go check out the Rider-Waite tarot. Maybe just Google Rider-Waite and maybe do a little bit of reading on the history of that. I also want you to start spending some time in your space where you're going to be reading your cards. Start really implanting your energy there. And when you're sitting in that space, start with your intentions. Even if you're not going to do anything in that moment, you need to start putting that energy there and solidifying it there. So pick your space, go visit your space, sit there and hold your cards, shuffle your cards, look at your cards. You need to infuse your energy into them anyways. So that's what you need to do. And that's your homework for now. And I'll see you guys next Sunday. And we're going to start the Fool's Journey. And I think we'll just go from the Fool all the way to the last card. We'll just talk about them each at a time. And in the midst of all that, I'm going to teach you guys how to do all kinds of fun, cool stuff. I'm not going to sit here and list it all off. You'll see. But it's going to be awesome. Thank you guys so much for letting me learn how to be a teacher. Because this is not just for me. I mean, not just for you. It's for me too. We're co-creating here. So thank you so much for the encouragement too, you guys. Thank you. That helps me a lot. Awesome. And thank you guys for showing up. Lifting you all in abundant, high vibrational love and light. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll see you guys in 2 days on Tuesday, right? And we'll do some readings. Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate you all. Love you. Have an amazing rest of your Sunday. Blessed be.